Welcome to Transcendent. I'm Joe, and I'm the dad.
And I'm Raya, and I'm the daughter.
So this pirate went to the doctor,
Yeah?
and he says, I have these moles on me back.
He did, huh? Okay.
And the doctor said, that's okay. They're benign.
Uh-huh.
The pirate replied, count again, Doc. I think there be 10.
Thankfully, we're a few weeks ahead as we record these. We needed that because I am just getting over COVID. So we're coming back after I've been away, and we haven't been able to record these podcasts for a couple weeks now.
Yeah.
I'm glad to be back here, but we figured now that we would do one that wouldn't require me to talk quite as much. This is one where we thought we would go, I'll ask you some questions, Dad, and you can give your advice to a parent that is having a child that's coming out. We figured we would do the episode From One Parent to Another, a dad's conversation with parents struggling to accept their LGBTQ plus child.
I've had this experience that people have approached me knowing that I have a transgender daughter. And they've come up to me and said, how do you handle this, that type of thing? And I've had a couple of conversations with people about that. But I know in our listening audience, there are many people who struggle with this. And I thought I'd share kind of some of the struggles that I've gone through. What I want to share with all of you is the things that I'm going to talk about. We should have this conversation together. So maybe you're wondering, how did I get through this? What did I do? Where am I going with this? And how can you learn from anything I've done? Well, I'll tell you, first of all, anything I've done is my style and what I've done. It's not something that you can say, you have to do it just like me. You have to understand what I understand. You have to do what I do. Like we say, if you know one transgender person, if you know one LGBTQ plus person, you know one. If you know one parent who has had a hard time accepting in the beginning, and they've gone through it and moved to the next step, you've known one person that's done that. Each person is going to be different, and that's fine. I'm not here to tell you that your way is right or wrong, and my way is right or wrong. I'm here to say, I'm a dad like you. I'm also, for some of you, I'm a grandpa like you. And I love my family like you. And I want to do right by them. And I'm sure you feel the same way. You love your family. You want to do right by them as well. But there is confusion. There's, in the beginning, there's fear. There's grief over some of the losses that you think you've seen. What I had in that particular thing is at the time, I had a child that I thought was going to take over the company, would inherit the company and continue to move forward with it. But that didn't happen. I had no idea in the beginning. Some of you may have an idea that, gee, I think my daughter is a lesbian, or I think my daughter is possibly considering becoming transgender, or maybe it's one or another type of thing like that they're questioning themselves and they don't know. Or maybe you thought all along that this was the situation. Or maybe you're completely surprised by this.
And of course, just to pipe in here, as the transgender person, I would say that I have always been transgender. I didn't become transgender when I came out to you. For me, it was more deciding to transition and accept who I am as a transgender person. And I think those are some of the things that we navigate together.
Yes. What happened was I had no idea. This had been something that Rye had been struggling with for a long time and spent a lot of time in prayer, a lot of times in trying to understand if this is good or bad. What are we doing that we should be doing, or what are we doing? What are we not doing that we should be doing? Those types of things. But in my particular case, we talked about this a long time ago. I was invited over to the house with my wife, the mom. We knew that there was something that they wanted to tell us. There was a concern. Well, Raya told me that she was concerned that she felt much, much more comfortable as a woman than she did as a man. At that point, what I did is I just listened. When she told me that, I didn't react. But in my head, I thought, either I accept it or I lose her. And we were so close as father and son that I didn't want to lose her by any means.
And you say that now, lose her, but at that time you were probably thinking, I accept it or I lose him, because
That's correct.
you hadn't fully come to embrace, or even, I mean, this was all new for you at this point.
This was in the first 5 minutes.
I appreciate right now that you tell that story that way, but that's not how you would have thought of it in the moment.
No, that's correct.
Yeah. Now, Dad, you are coming to this with a very specific set of your own attitudes.
Oh, sure.
So you came, we've talked about this, that you had a lot of homophobia, a lot of transphobia, but really a heart of wanting to love your family. And that's sort of the recipe that you were bringing for who you were into this whole conversation. A lot of parents are coming from different places. We're all over the spectrum on our accepting nature of LGBTQ plus issues. Some people that are listening are really skeptical. Some have not thought much about it. Some are very supportive. So wherever somebody is coming from, what kind of attitudes would you tell them is maybe most important to start with? Do you have any advice for somebody that goes through what you did, maybe coming from a different perspective or bringing a different set of assumptions or coming to this with a different personality? What advice would you have for them to start with?
Well, in my particular case, the first thing I thought of was, listen, I needed to understand. I was not on that side. I wasn't one of these people that was going out and championing LGBTQ plus rights. And as a matter of fact, we worked with someone that was transgendered, and we had a difficult time. Even the two of us together would make jokes between us about that. And that was not appropriate, but I didn't know it at the time. We were accepting, I would say, but not affirming.
You knew quite well that it was not appropriate in public, and you never made any comments like that in public. It was just really in private that you felt like this is an acceptable kind of joke to make. And that's the kind of thing that I think everybody does. We know how you're supposed to be, and then we know kind of how we really are, and then the things that we actually make fun of behind closed doors. And that's kind of where you were coming from.
I have a good friend that just spent, he and his significant other spent a weekend at our house over her Christmas vacation. One of the things that my good friend said, well, I really have a hard time with this, but I'm here because I want to spend some time with that part of my family. He said, I just can't accept this, but I think it's best if I just say nothing at all. That's where he is now. His significant other said, she's very supportive. She's not only very supportive, she's encouraging and really has been almost a mother figure to the person that she's concerned about. And
Which in this case, they're not talking about me, although they do know me.
yes,
But they're talking about somebody else in their family
that's
that
correct.
they're dealing with as well. Yeah.
So it's nice that he can pretend, I would say, that everything is fine because he says nothing at all. But inside, it's difficult. And I understand that. He is definitely accepted by the other person. And the other person, I suspect, doesn't know that it's difficult for him, that he's fighting a battle with himself.
Oh, I suspect that they probably do.
Oh,
I think LGBTQ plus folks, we're very aware when somebody is fully accepting and affirming and when somebody is only giving lip service. Although I will tell you, we would generally much rather have somebody that's giving lip service than somebody that is performatively reminding us again and again that they think that we're wrong.
oh, of course.
That's not helpful at all. I think a good place to start with this is to just acknowledge the confusion and the fear and the grief
Yeah.
over lost expectations. It's difficult when a child is coming out to recognize things are going to change.
Oftentimes people might say, well, wait a minute. What if I'm giving up something that I believe? If accepting this person means I have to give up something else that I believe, isn't that going to be really difficult for me? I would say, yes, it is. Because if you hold that belief within you, it's difficult. What can you do about that? Well, I would say, first of all, and you'll hear this just about any time you try to explore that, whether you're reading something or whether or not you heard something somewhere else or you're getting advice from people like me. Is it something that I can just accept if I don't believe in what they are doing? The answer is yes, because it's something that is going to keep you from becoming affirming. What do? Honestly, the best thing you can do is learn. That is going to help more than anything else. When you take the time to understand from the other person's point of view, you'll discover, as I did, that more often than not, you're learning a little something along the way. But I can tell you, you don't go from 0 to 60. It doesn't happen. When you begin to try to meet the understanding of the other person, it is a process. It's not something that happens over and over. But keeping an open mind and asking questions and taking the time to learn and understanding the other person's perspective will go a long way. The thing that you should bring to it is the heart for the relationship, to preserve the relationship. And if you do that, that is one of the biggest steps, maybe the biggest, in developing a stronger relationship. Now, having a strong relationship is wonderful, but I'll tell you what I expected. I expected we would maintain or almost maintain the good relationship we had together. Raya, you and I had a great relationship. And I was thinking, well, I'm going to work at this. And if I can keep it almost that good, I think I'll be doing great. But in reality, it's much better than it was before.
Yeah, it sure is.
Because you understand that I am totally affirming and I champion your cause.
I think a lot of parents, when they're coming to this, the number one thing that we can say is that there's probably a lot of fear that is coming out. It could be fear about what will happen to the child, fear about whether they're making the right decision or they really understand everything, fear about the backlash for the family and shame and all different
Yes.
kinds of fear. Now, we're going to talk about that fear right after this break. And I need this break because I need this cough that I've been holding back.
I'm Chuck Reynolds, and I started listening to Transcendent because Joe is my friend. I keep listening because I have friends, colleagues, and family members who are part of the LGBTQ community, and I want to better understand their struggles and perspectives. I have become a supporter because I believe Joe and Raya are truly helping to preserve relationships and save lives. Join me in supporting Transcendent. Just go to transcendent.com, click on support, and select the amount you'd like to give each month. It can be as little as $3, and you can cancel at any time.
When you knew that you had some fear about this, remember the fear wasn't about them. It was about your own uncertainty. Your love for that person didn't change, but it was your relationship that was at risk. And keep that in mind, or should I say your relationship is at risk. So what matters more is staying connected, not necessarily being right from your perspective. Staying connected and continuing the relationship is the secret to really having the best relationship you can get.
We talked before the break about the various fears that somebody may be bringing into the conversation when a child is first coming out to them. Talk a little bit about those fears.
Oh, yeah.
What's really going on there behind those fears, do you think, Dad?
Well, there's the thing about, I'm afraid that this is going to ruin their life. This is going to be tough for them. What are they going to do about that? Or it might be they're going to be rejected or they could be harmed. That was one that was a big one with me. Mm-hmm. I was concerned that you could get in some kind of trouble just because of who you were, that people might attack you or something like that. I was afraid maybe that it was a mistake all the way around. And would this, if you decided that you were going to go through this process, what's the odds that, oh, you made a mistake and you want to go back? I guess that's another thing I thought of. It was all about that. Now, yours might be different. Those were my concerns. Your concerns might be, gee, did I fail as a parent? Or, I don't know, will I be rejected by them? And where is God in all this? Will God reject them and me? Or maybe just me? Or maybe just them? All of those things are concerned. But it's fear, it's not hate. Keep that in mind. That's critical. Remember, you still have your own child there, and it is their life, but your relationship with them together. Yes, it's their life, but together you want to preserve that, grow that, and make it even stronger. Fear sometimes looks to you like control, or maybe distance, or silence. And it can be if you let it be. But if you don't let it overcome you, it's not going to be a roadblock because it shouldn't be. There's no reason for that. Most parents don't reject their kids. They reject the fear that they don't know how to carry. And that is a pretty big deal.
I think we want to take a look at what the child who is coming out is really asking for. When they're coming out, obviously they have thought a long time about this. I know when I came out to you, I'd thought long and hard about this. I'd put in a lot of agonizing hours trying to figure out what is really going on with me. And you kind of had to come to terms with that. When I came out to you, I was not worried about how you would take it or what you would think, because in that moment, I didn't have the mental space to be worried about your reaction.
Oh, yeah.
I had been carrying the weight of trying to hide this for so long that I was just grateful to take that weight off and not have to carry it any longer. So I was not as maybe sensitive to your needs. And if you're a parent right now that's thinking about how to deal with a child that has come out to you already, or you're thinking maybe coming out to you soon, the first thing I would recognize is what your child is really asking for is for the ability to stop hiding. They're not probably so concerned about the impact on you. They're concerned about the weight and the impact that they have been carrying this whole time. I'm curious, Dad, from your perspective, how did all of that come across to you?
Well, I had my own concerns there, of course. There were a lot of things but I wasn't sure how my friends were going to react. And in the beginning, I didn't want to tell anybody. That was, just a secret. Let's keep that a secret between us kind of thing. I didn't say that directly to you, but I tried to do that in my own mind. And Mom, too. We didn't want to bring it out. We didn't want to say anything because we thought, well, maybe we can keep this relationship together, but that's just between us, okay?
Yeah.
It was kind of like that.
Sure. I mean, it was a secret. It was sort of this secret thing that, well, am I going to go off to my secret place and go cross-dress somewhere? I mean, it was not that I was looking to come out authentically. None of us really even knew quite where this was going to go. And for many people, that's a way to deal with their transgender issues, is they just will occasionally cross-dress, and that is okay. There's a lot of ways to deal with this. For me, that was never going to be enough.
Right. For you, it was either all or nothing.
I have very little degrees of a difference between things. I am an all on or all off type of person.
Yeah. And you all on now for 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention some misconceptions. Let me tell you what acceptance is not. It's not political agreement. It's not abandoning your own faith. It's not celebrating everything overnight. It's not understanding everything immediately. I still don't understand everything immediately. I don't understand it now. We've been doing this podcast. We're in our 4th year, and you're in your 10th year of having transitioned. Let me tell you what acceptance is. Acceptance is staying in the relationship. That's number one, and probably the biggest. Second thing, it's listening more than talking, more than lecturing. Listening is really a major key. You will begin to learn more as you listen more. It means that you will ask questions rather than try to mention corrections that you think are the right answer, because it's only your answer and it isn't necessarily correct. And it means making your home safe. It's a safe place for them, not a place that they're going to be beaten down, that things are going to be a problem. It is returning to the family that is a good, solid family, and an area where they know they feel safe.
One thing that I noticed, and thankfully you did not do this, but a number of my friends, I remember one friend in particular that was not very thrilled about my transitioning, but also didn't want to make a big deal out of it. And the way that she chose to deal with it was by giving me quote unquote helpful pieces of advice. And I realized after the fact that what those really were her ways of expressing her annoyance at my transition, because I got a lot of stuff wrong. Up front, I was trying to figure everything out
Sure.
during that time. And those pieces of, quote, helpful advice were really her way of saying, I'm kind of annoyed with what you're doing right now, and I want you to get it right. I want to caution you, especially if your child is transgender, but this, I think, would also apply to somebody coming out as gay or lesbian or bisexual or any of the other letters on that LGBTQ plus spectrum. There will be probably some things about it, some pieces that annoy you at first, and you will be tempted to want to give some advice. Do your best at that moment to bite your tongue. And maybe at the very least, you can ask for some permission. Like, hey, I've got some ideas. Would it be all right for me to share them? Although even that, I would be very cautious of. I remember a trans feminine friend telling me about her parent coming down very hard on her about her nose hair and how she needed to pluck that nose hair. And, she's probably right. But yet at the same time, imagine how hurtful that would be to somebody just trying to make a go of it, just wanting acceptance. And the one thing that the parent says is, I noticed something and you're doing it wrong and it bothers me.
Yeah.
Be very, very careful about that.
Really, it's part of what acceptance is not, which we talked about before. And I'll tell you what is really critical. And this is something that is, I would say, an absolute rule. You don't get to choose whether or not your child is LGBTQ plus. That's not something you get to do. It is similar to saying, I was a bridge tender, and when you grow up, you're going to be a bridge tender. You may not want to be a bridge tender. But when you try to force that on your child and they want to be something else, they'd much rather be a baker. Well, but you don't want that. Okay. You do get to choose whether they call you, whether they visit, whether they trust you, whether they respect you, whether they have you in their life. You get to choose that with your relationship that you have. Silence and distance communicate rejection, even when it's unintentional. So if you want to keep a relationship, start there.
I remember some of those early X-Men movies that came out in the early 2000s. And if you remember those movies, the idea was there's a group of humans that have developed some mutations, and they kind of use this as a metaphor for lots of different marginalized identities. But of course, with one of the obvious ones being LGBTQ plus kinds of issues. And at one point, one of the characters is coming out to his parent, and he says, I've got these powers. Of course, they're developing at puberty as things are coming on, and he can't control them, and he's not sure what to do. And he has this moment of vulnerability with his parents. He says, I don't know what to do with these. They're happening, and I don't know how to control it. And do you remember what the parent says? She says, well, have you tried not being a mutant? and so frequently, this is what parents will do, is wanting to give good advice in a way that minimalizes all this and makes it go away. I can tell you your child has been wrestling with these same things of, I didn't get to choose to be LGBTQ+. I didn't get to choose to be transgender. I didn't want this. I didn't get to choose to be gay. I didn't get to choose any of these things. I didn't get to decide how I would be wired. All I can do is deal with it. And that's all we're asking you to do as parents as well.
Let me suggest to you some things you could do that are practical, doable things, and you can do those this week. You say, how do I start? Where am I? What do I do? Well, you can do things like just using the things that you're questioning about. Like, you might say, help me understand. Now, when you say that, let them speak and don't correct them. Another thing you can say, which I said to Raya, I love you. I'm still learning. I do love you, and that's important. And just come up with something that you might want to ask. Ask one question, and whatever their answer, don't correct them. Just show them that you want to learn. Show them that. If you can do that this week, that is the first step in preserving and growing that relationship. It's really critical. The other thing is, don't forget, show up for their birthday. Don't forget that. And the holidays, whatever holidays you celebrate, whether it's Hanukkah or whether it's Kwanzaa or whatever it happens to be. The other thing, take time to just meet together. If your child is not living in your house, they're living somewhere else, take the time to get together. Hey, what do you say we have lunch? Or let's just go out for a cup of coffee, whatever. The idea is you don't have to walk the whole road today. Just don't turn away.
I think really the most important thing in all of this, we understand that this is hard. Everybody understands that this is hard. Nobody gets this perfect. You will screw up. You will get some things wrong. But if you choose the relationship, if you choose to be present, and if you choose love over giving into that fear, you will find that you have enough of an investment in your relationship with one another that's going to carry you through it.
You don't have to be a perfect parent. In fact, no one is. I'm not. But you have to be the parent. You have to be there. You have to show up. Now, if I've said something in here that you don't agree with, I'd like to hear from you about that. If you have a question, if there's something you can't understand, you don't know where to go, just send your question to the dad at transcended@gmail.com. We've got a lot coming up, and we've got a lot of room for feedback.
If you know somebody that would benefit from listening to this podcast, please pass it on. And if you listen on Spotify or on Apple iTunes, if you would go on and leave a review, that really helps us as well.
And with that, we'll see you Monday.